What if your real power began the exact moment you stopped reacting? There is a silent tragedy occurring in the lives of men and women all across the world today. A tragedy so subtle that most people do not even realize they are the victims of it. It is not a lack of opportunity, for we live in an age of unprecedented abundance. It is not a lack of talent, for talent is cheaper than table salt. The tragedy is a complete lack of self-command. Most people are not truly living their lives. They are merely reacting to a series of external stimuli. Like a dry leaf caught in a gale, they are tossed by the moods of others, swept away by the breaking news of the day, and crushed by the slightest criticism from a stranger. They move, yes, but they move only where the wind pushes them. They wake up in the morning and immediately surrender their mental real estate to the world. A notification on their phone determines their mood. A rude comment in traffic determines their blood pressure. A rejection in business determines their self-worth. They are puppets, and the strings are held by everyone else but themselves. They assume that they must react to maintain control, but the truth is that reaction is the very mechanism by which you give your control away. If your emotions can be triggered like a simple lever by an external event, then your power belongs to that event, not to you. Then, there is the other group, the rare 2%. These are the captains of their souls. These are the individuals who have discovered the sacred art of stillness. When you look at the titans of industry, the great leaders, and the profound thinkers of history, you will notice a common trait. It is not that they feel nothing. It is not that they are cold or indifferent. It is that they have trained their minds to choose a response rather than fall victim to a reaction. When the world hurls an insult, a betrayal, or an unexpected failure at them, they do not explode in rage or collapse in fear. They pause. In that pause, they consult their own internal compass. They understand that the storm outside has no authority to enter the fortress of their mind unless they lower the drawbridge. This ability to remain unfazed, to act as if nothing affects you, is the highest form of power available to mankind. It is the ability to look at chaos and refuse to invite it in. Consider the metaphor of the ship. A person governed by their feelings is like a ship with a broken rudder. It has engines, it has fuel, and it has potential, but it has no direction. When the waves crash against it, the ship turns whichever way the water dictates. It may travel 1,000 miles, but it arrives nowhere. This is the life of the drifter. They are exhausted at the end of every day, not from productive work, but from the emotional labor of reacting to everything that happened to them. Contrast this with the person who has mastered themselves. They are the ship with a firm hand on the wheel. The storm may rage, the waves may be 50 feet high, and the winds may howl, but the ship stays on its course. It cuts through the waves rather than being rolled by them. This is the essence of self-mastery. It is not the absence of the storm. It is the presence of the navigator. We must understand that this separation between the drifter and the master is not a matter of genetics or luck. It is a matter of decision. Most people fear silence because in silence they must face themselves, so they rush to noise. They seek constant distraction to avoid the responsibility of ownership. But the master embraces the silence because that is where the plan is formed. That is where the definite major purpose is crystallized. When you act from a place of stillness, you become dangerous to the status quo. The person who can remain calm in a crisis is the person the crisis begins to fear. You stop playing the game of the world and the world starts following your moves. You shift from being a thermometer, which simply reflects the temperature of the room, to being a thermostat, the instrument that sets the temperature. In the next hour, we are going to dismantle the habits of the 98%. We are going to walk through the laboratory of the mind, and I will hand you the keys to emotional sovereignty. We will learn how to reprogram the subconscious so that your default setting is no longer fear or anger, but calm determination. We will examine how to budget your emotional energy like a currency, refusing to spend it on things that do not yield a return on your investment. We will learn how to use the power of accurate thinking to separate facts from mere information, ensuring that no insult and no setback can ever derail your destiny again. You have been told to be strong, to be bold, to fight. But I tell you today that the greatest strength is not found in the loudness of your battle cry, but in the quiet confidence of your composure. If you are ready to stop drifting and start driving, if you are ready to reclaim the remote control of your emotions, then listen closely. Your journey from the 98% to the 2% begins right now. Now that we have separated the drifters from the masters, we must examine the specific tool that the top 2% use to maintain their position. This tool is a faculty of the mind that most people never bother to cultivate, let alone master. It is the principle of accurate thinking. You might believe that you are a thinker. You wake up, you have thoughts, you make decisions, and you assume this process is thinking. But I must tell you with absolute certainty that most of what passes for thinking is merely the recycling of other people's opinions, prejudices, and fears. To think accurately is a rigorous discipline. It is the ability to separate facts from mere information. This distinction is the bedrock of self-mastery. Information is abundant, it is cheap, it is everywhere, and it is usually free. Your neighbors have information, the news channels have information, and your critics have information. But facts are rare. Facts are the cold, hard truths that exist independently of emotion. The tragedy of the drifter is that he accepts all information as fact. If someone calls him incompetent, he accepts it as a fact of his identity, rather than seeing it as information about the other person's insecurity. If he reads a frightening headline, he accepts it as a prediction of his own doom, rather than seeing it as a tactic to sell advertising. The accurate thinker stands at the gate of his mind like a vigilant sentry. He challenges every piece of data that seeks to enter. He asks the most important question in the world of logic. Is this a proven fact, or is this merely an opinion? Until that question is answered, the drawbridge of the mind remains raised. This brings us to the greatest obstacle in the path of accurate thinking, which is the habit of immediate reaction. We are conditioned by a fast-paced world to respond instantly. We feel we must have an answer, a comeback, or a defense the moment we are challenged. But reaction is the enemy of reason. When you react, you are operating from the emotional center of your brain, the primitive part that is concerned only with survival, ego, and defense. You cannot think accurately while you are busy defending your pride. This is why the master cultivates what I call the sacred pause. The sacred pause is that infinitesimally small gap between the stimulus and the response. In the life of a drifter, this gap does not exist. The stimulus happens and the reaction follows immediately, like a knee-jerking when struck by a mallet. But in the life of a master, this gap is widened. It is expanded by sheer force of will into a sanctuary where wisdom can be consulted. In that pause, you stop the automatic flow of emotion. You do not suppress the feeling, for that is dangerous, but you delay the action. You say to yourself that you will reserve your judgment until the court of your mind has reviewed the evidence. This simple delay is the difference between a regretful outburst and a strategic victory. Let us analyze a practical case study to see this in motion. Imagine a high-level executive in a boardroom. He has spent months working on a vision for his company. He presents it with passion. As he finishes, a colleague leans back and makes a sarcastic, cutting remark, dismissing the entire plan as naive and unworkable. The room goes silent. In this moment, the air is thick with tension. If the executive is a drifter, his ego is instantly wounded. His heart rate spikes, his face flushes, and his mind floods with defensive thoughts. He might lash out in anger, he might stutter an apology, or he might withdraw in shame. All three are reactions. All three hand power over to the critic. But if the executive is a master, he utilizes the sacred pause. He hears the insult, but he does not accept it. He looks at the words hanging in the air, and he applies accurate thinking. He asks himself if the criticism is based on facts or if it is an emotional projection of the colleague's fear of change. In that silence, which may only last 5 seconds, he regains his composure. He looks the colleague in the eye and responds with a calm question rather than a defensive statement. He asks for specific evidence to support the opinion. By doing so, he has turned the chaos back into order. He has refused to let the poison of another person enter his system. The master understands that an insult is like a gift. If you do not accept it, it still belongs to the giver. You must learn to treat your emotions as messengers, not as commanders. This is a vital distinction in the philosophy of self-empowerment. When you feel a surge of anger or fear, that is your body delivering a message. It is telling you that a value you hold has been challenged or a boundary has been crossed. The drifter lets the messenger take the throne and run the kingdom. The drifter allows anger to dictate policy, write emails, and burn bridges. The accurate thinker receives the message, thanks the messenger, and then dismisses it so that the king, the rational faculty, can decide what to do. This is why you must never make a permanent decision based on a temporary emotion. The sacred pause gives you the time to let the chemical surge of emotion subside so that your intelligence can return to the driver's seat. It is a biological fact that when your emotional brain is highly activated, your logical brain is impaired. Therefore, the most intelligent thing you can do in a heated moment is absolutely nothing. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is in the silence that you can consult your definite major purpose. You can ask yourself if engaging in this battle moves you closer to your goal or distracts you from it. If it is a distraction, the accurate thinker discards it without a second thought. Consider the concept of the window and the wound. When someone attacks you, they are usually not attacking you at all. They are attacking a projection of their own unresolved issues. If you have an unhealed wound in your psyche, perhaps a deep insecurity about your intelligence or your worth, their words will hit that wound and you will react with pain. But if you have healed that wound through self-discipline and accurate thinking, their words become a window. You look through their words and you see their pain, their jealousy, or their confusion. Instead of being hurt, you become observant. You might even feel pity. This shift in perspective is only possible if you detach your identity from their opinion. The accurate thinker knows that his value is established by his own industry and integrity, not by the applause or the booing of the crowd. This is the ultimate freedom. When you no longer need the world to agree with you, you can observe the world clearly. You stop trying to prove yourself and you start expressing yourself. The energy you used to waste on managing other people's perceptions is now freed up to build your own empire. There is a rigorous practice I want you to adopt starting today. It is the practice of labeling and logic. When you feel the heat of a reaction rising, the first thing you must do in your sacred pause is label the emotion. Say to yourself mentally that you are experiencing anger or that you are experiencing anxiety. By naming the ghost, you reduce its power. You separate the I from the emotion. You are not angry. You are simply experiencing a wave of anger. Then, apply the logic of accurate thinking. Ask yourself 3 questions. First, is this situation under my control? If not, there is no use in getting upset. Second, does this person have any authority over my soul or my future? The answer is almost always no. And third, what is the most constructive step I can take right now? Often, the most constructive step is to return to your work and let your success be the silence that drowns out the noise. You must understand that you have a limited supply of mental energy each day. Every time you react to something trivial, you are leaking high-octane fuel onto the pavement. The accurate thinker plugs these leaks. He guards his peace as a miser guards his gold. He knows that his clarity of mind is his chief asset, and he refuses to let the muddy boots of other people's drama stomp through the hallways of his intellect. This philosophy is not about becoming a robot. It is about becoming a sovereign ruler of your internal world. It requires you to be comfortable with being misunderstood. When you employ the sacred pause, people may think you are arrogant, cold, or indifferent. Let them think what they wish. That is merely more information, not fact. You know the truth. You know that you are preserving your energy for your higher purpose. You are building a mental fortress where the walls are made of facts and the gates are guarded by wisdom. Inside that fortress, you are safe to create, to plan, and to grow. The world outside can be in chaos, the markets can crash, the critics can scream, but inside the mind of the accurate thinker, there is order. There is a calm rhythm of production and purpose. This is the state of mind that attracts wealth. This is the state of mind that attracts opportunity. The universe does not reward the frantic, it rewards the focused. And you cannot be focused if you are constantly reacting. So, here is your instruction for this chapter of your life. For the next 7 days, I challenge you to be a witness to your own life rather than a participant in the drama. When the unexpected happens, freeze. Take a deep breath, count to 5. Visualize a wall of glass between you and the event. See the event clearly, but do not let it touch you. Ask yourself what the facts are. Ask yourself what the hidden opportunity is, and then, and only then, choose your response. You will find that in 90% of cases, the best response is to smile, say nothing, and continue with your work. You will feel a surge of power that you have never felt before. It is the power of the driver who has finally taken his hands off the panic button and placed them firmly on the steering wheel. This is accurate thinking. This is the sacred pause. This is the beginning of your liberation. We have established that the foundation of self-mastery is the ability to pause and think accurately, but accurate thinking requires fuel. The brain is a machine, and like any high-performance engine, it consumes immense amounts of power. This brings us to the second great secret of the top 2%, which is the management of the economy of personal energy. Most people are obsessed with their financial economy. They track their dollars, they worry about the stock market, and they budget their monthly expenses with rigorous precision. Yet, these same people are utterly reckless with a currency far more valuable than gold, stocks, or real estate. I am speaking of your vital life force, your emotional and mental energy. You must understand that you wake up every morning with a finite deposit of energy in your account. You do not have an unlimited supply. Every thought you entertain, every conversation you engage in, every frustration you embrace, and every act of will is a withdrawal from that account. The tragedy of the drifter is not that he has no energy. It is that he spends it on things that offer no return on investment. He is emotionally bankrupt by noon because he has scattered his wealth to the four winds of distraction. Let us look closely at the principle of controlled attention. Napoleon Hill identified this as the act of coordinating all the faculties of the mind and directing their combined power to a given end. It is not merely concentration, it is exclusion. It is the ability to close the door of your mind to the non-essential. The drifter has no door. His mind is a public marketplace where anyone can set up a stall and make noise. If a coworker is rude, the drifter spends 3 hours replaying the insult in his mind, analyzing it, getting angry about it, and planning a comeback. That is a massive expenditure of energy. Ask yourself, what is the return on that investment? Does ruminating on the insult make you richer? Does it make you healthier? Does it advance your definite major purpose? The answer is obviously no. Therefore, it is a bad investment. The master of energy looks at the insult, sees it as a liability, and refuses to fund it. He withdraws his attention immediately and reinvests that energy into his work, his vision, or his family. This is the discipline of the energy economist. He knows that he cannot afford to be angry at things that do not matter because he has a destiny to build, and building a destiny is expensive. It requires every ounce of focus he possesses. Consider the metaphor of the desert crossing. Imagine that your life's mission is to drive a vehicle across a vast and dangerous desert to reach a golden city on the other side. You have a specific amount of fuel in your tank. This is your life energy. You cannot stop to refuel. What you have is what you have. As you drive along the road of your destiny, you will see shadows moving in the dunes. These are the jackals. The jackals represent the critics, the doubters, the petty arguments, the internet trolls, and the minor inconveniences of daily life. As you drive, the jackals will run alongside your car, they will bark at your tires, they will try to bait you into stopping. The drifter stops the car, he gets out to scream at the jackals. He throws rocks at them, he chases them into the dunes to prove he is right and they are wrong. He feels triumphant in the moment because he has silenced a barking dog. But when he returns to his car, he realizes a terrifying truth. He has burned his fuel chasing something that was not going to the Golden City. He is now stranded in the desert, not because the vehicle failed, but because he mismanaged his fuel. The master keeps his hands on the wheel. He hears the barking, yes. He sees the jackals, yes. But he does not slow down. In fact, he accelerates. He knows that if he keeps moving forward with speed and determination, the jackals will eventually be left behind in the dust. You must learn to treat the petty conflicts of life as barking jackals. Do not stop your car. Your fuel is too precious. This mismanagement of energy is the primary reason why so many talented, intelligent people remain stuck in mediocrity. They are suffering from what I call emotional leakage. Every time you react with indignation to a news headline that you cannot change, you are leaking energy. Every time you gossip about the failures of others, you are leaking energy. Every time you worry about a future that has not happened yet, you are leaking energy. These leaks may seem small, a few minutes here, a mild irritation there, but accumulated over a lifetime, they drain the reservoir of your genius. You wonder why you have no motivation to work on your dream when you get home from your job. It is not because you are physically tired, it is because you are emotionally depleted. You gave your best energy to your frustrations, leaving only the fumes for your future. To change this, you must become ruthless with your attention. You must adopt a policy of zero tolerance for drama. When a conversation turns toward complaint or negativity, you must physically or mentally exit that conversation. You are not being rude. You are being self-preservative. You are guarding the asset that builds your empire. Let us analyze the biological reality of this economy. When you engage in high-stress reactions, anger, jealousy, fear, your body floods with cortisol and adrenaline. This is a survival mechanism designed for short bursts of physical danger. When you trigger this mechanism repeatedly over emails, traffic, or social media arguments, you are keeping your body in a state of chronic emergency. This burns glucose and mental resources at an accelerated rate. It creates a brain fog that makes accurate thinking impossible. The master understands that calmness is efficiency. When you are calm, your engine runs cool. You consume less fuel to go further distances. This is why the most powerful leaders in the room are often the quietest. They are not passive, they are efficient. They are conserving their power for the decisive moment when they need to strike or decide. They understand that every outburst is a sign of weakness, a sign that the engine is overheating and leaking steam. To master your energy, you must learn to lower your idle speed. You must learn to move through the day with a sense of relaxed intensity, engaging fully when necessary, and then immediately returning to a state of neutral observation. You must also understand the concept of opportunity cost in the realm of psychology. In economics, opportunity cost is the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. If you choose to spend 20 minutes arguing with a stranger on the internet, the cost is not just 20 minutes. The cost is the creative idea you could have had in that time. The cost is the peace of mind you sacrificed. The cost is the deep connection you could have had with your spouse or child in those 20 minutes. When you calculate the true cost of your reactions, you realize that most of them are incredibly expensive. You are paying for your anger with pieces of your life. Is the satisfaction of being right worth a piece of your life? Is the validation of your ego worth the degradation of your soul? The master calculator says no. He looks at the temptation to argue, calculates the price, and decides it is too expensive. He chooses to be rich in peace rather than right in an argument. This is the economy of the wise. So, how do we implement this practically? You must conduct an energy audit of your life. I want you to look back at the last 7 days. Identify the 3 biggest sources of stress or frustration. Now, look at them with the cold eye of an accurate thinker. Did your stress change the outcome? Did your worry prevent the problem? Did your anger fix the situation? In almost every case, the answer is no. You paid the price, but you bought nothing. This is bad business. Going forward, you must categorize your inputs. There are high-yield inputs books, deep conversations, creative work, exercise, meditation. These give you more energy than they take. Then there are negative yield inputs, sensationalist news, toxic relationships, unnecessary arguments, worrying about opinions. These take energy and give nothing back. Your strategy is simple. Liquidate the negative assets and invest heavily in the high-yield assets. If you have a friend who only calls you to complain, that is a bad investment. Limit your exposure. If you have a habit of doom scrolling before bed, that is a bad investment. Cut it off. You must curate your life so that your environment supports your energy rather than stealing it. Ultimately, controlled attention is the master key that unlocks the door to the temple of wisdom. When you can hold your mind on a single object of thought, your definite major purpose, and keep it there until that thought becomes a physical reality, you become unstoppable. But you cannot hold that focus if you are constantly turning your head to look at every distraction that passes by. You must develop tunnel vision for your destiny. This does not mean you are ignorant of the world. It means you are selective. You choose what to see. You choose what to feel. You choose what to engage with. This is the difference between the flashlight and the laser. A flashlight illuminates a wide area with weak light. A laser concentrates all that light into a single, narrow beam that can cut through diamond. The drifter is a flashlight, casting weak energy everywhere. The master is a laser, burning through obstacles with concentrated force. Become the laser. Guard your energy. Treat your attention as the most expensive commodity on earth, because in the end, your life is nothing more than the sum total of what you paid attention to. Do not let the world spend your life for you. Spend it yourself, and spend it on greatness. My friends, pause for a moment. You are learning to treat your energy like gold and your mind like a fortress. But remember Napoleon Hill's principle of the master mind. No mind is complete by itself. It needs to connect with others who are also walking the path of mastery. If you are committed to leaving the 98% of drifters behind, I invite you to make a small but powerful investment right now. Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications. By doing so, you are not just following a channel, you are signaling to your subconscious that you belong to a community of high achievers. Do not walk this path alone. Join us. Let us build this legacy together. Now, let us face the greatest enemy of all, your own ego. We have arrived at the precipice of the most dangerous trap in the human experience. We have discussed how to think accurately and how to conserve your energy, but there is an enemy that lies in wait to sabotage both of those efforts. This enemy does not live outside of you. It is not the economy, it is not your competitors, and it is not the critics who mock your ambition. This enemy lives within your own house. It eats at your table and sleeps in your bed. I am speaking, of course, of the ego. To understand why 98% of people fail to achieve their desires, you must understand the war between the ego and the definite major purpose. These two forces cannot coexist in the seat of power. One must serve the other. In the life of the drifter, the ego is the master and the purpose is the servant. In the life of the master, the purpose is the king, and the ego is merely a ghost that has been banished to the dungeon. This chapter is the heart of our philosophy, because if you cannot conquer your own need for validation, you will never possess the stamina to conquer the world. The man who is offended is a man who is enslaved. He is enslaved by his own fragility. He walks through the world with an open wound, begging everyone he meets not to touch it. But the world is a rough place, and the wound will be touched. The only cure is to heal the wound, to dissolve the ego, and to become something harder, something stronger, something unbreakable. Let us first define what we mean by the ego in this context. We are not talking about the healthy self-esteem required to believe you can achieve greatness. We are talking about the false self, the fragile construct that demands to be recognized, praised, and agreed with. The ego is the voice in your head that whispers, "Don't they know who I am?" It is the part of you that keeps score of every slight, every insult, and every moment of disrespect. The ego is obsessed with the past and terrified of the future. It is constantly scanning the environment for threats to its image, and because it is constantly scanning for threats, it always finds them. When a man is ruled by his ego, he interprets silence as rejection. He interprets constructive feedback as an attack. He interprets the success of others as a personal failure. This man is exhausted. He is carrying the weight of a customized armor that is too heavy to walk in. He spends all his energy polishing this armor and defending this image, leaving him with zero energy to actually do the work. This is why the drifter never builds a legacy. He is too busy building a defense for a personality that does not even really exist. He is a prisoner of his own pride. Now, consider the opposing force, the definite major purpose. When Napoleon Hill studied the 500 most successful men in America, he found that every single one of them possessed a definite major purpose. This is not just a goal or a wish. It is a magnificent obsession. It is a burning desire that consumes the individual's waking thoughts and directs their subconscious actions. When a human being is possessed by a definite major purpose, something miraculous happens to their psychology. The ego begins to shrink. Why? Because the mission becomes more important than the man. The builder becomes less important than the building. The profound truth that most people miss is that you cannot be deeply offended when you are deeply purposed. Offense requires attention. It requires you to stop what you are doing, turn around, and engage with the person who insulted you. The man with a definite major purpose simply does not have the time for this. He is on a timeline. He has a destiny to catch. He looks at the insult not with anger, but with a detached curiosity, or perhaps he does not see it at all. He is like a surgeon in the middle of a life-saving operation. If someone in the operating theater shouts an insult at the surgeon, does the surgeon stop, put down his scalpel, and argue? Does he jeopardize the life of the patient to defend his feelings? Of course not. The purpose of saving the life supersedes the emotion. You must become the surgeon of your own destiny. Let us analyze the mechanics of offense. Why do you get angry when someone insults you? You get angry because deep down you fear they might be right. If you were absolutely certain of your value, completely grounded in your mission, and totally focused on your work, the insult would sound like nonsense. It would be like someone shouting at you in a language you do not understand. You would not be offended, you would be confused. Offense is a sign of agreement. When you react to a critic, you are silently agreeing that their opinion has value, that their voice carries weight, and that they have the authority to judge you. The master rejects this authority. The master understands the law of reflection. This law states that everything a person says to you is a reflection of their own internal state, not a statement about your reality. When a small person tries to bring you down, it is because they are already down. They are trying to lower you to their level because they cannot rise to yours. When you understand this, you stop taking offense and you start feeling compassion, or at least indifference. You realize that the angry driver, the jealous colleague, the mocking relative, they are all fighting their own battles with their own ghosts. Their poison is for them to drink, not you. Why would you snatch the cup of poison from their hands and drink it yourself? That is what you do when you take offense. We must look at history to see this principle in action. Consider the case of Abraham Lincoln. During the Civil War, Lincoln was perhaps the most hated and mocked man in America. He was called a baboon, a tyrant, a fool, and an incompetent. These insults came not just from the South, but from his own generals, his own cabinet, and the press of the North. If Lincoln had possessed a fragile ego, he would have spent his days firing generals, writing angry letters to editors, and defending his honor. He would have lost the war. But Lincoln was possessed by a definite major purpose, the preservation of the Union. That purpose was so large, so heavy, and so critical that it squeezed every ounce of ego out of him. There is a famous story where Lincoln went to the house of General McClellan to speak with him on urgent war matters. The general, who held Lincoln in contempt, came home, saw the president waiting in the parlor, and went straight upstairs to bed without speaking to him. Lincoln's aide was furious at this disrespect. But Lincoln simply smiled and said, "I would hold General McClellan's horse if only he would bring us victories." Do you see the power in that statement? Lincoln did not care about being respected. He cared about winning the war. He was willing to be treated like a stable boy if it meant the Union would survive. This is the ultimate level of self-mastery. It is the realization that your dignity is not found in how people treat you, but in what you are willing to endure for your cause. The man who can swallow his pride to digest his purpose is the man who will eat at the table of greatness. This brings us to the concept of the builder's mindset versus the performer's mindset. The ego is a performer. It wants the spotlight. It wants the applause. It is terrified of slipping up on stage. It lives for the audience. The definite major purpose creates a builder. The builder does not care if the audience is watching. The builder cares about the structural integrity of the wall he is laying. If a passerby laughs at his technique, the builder does not stop. He knows that when the storm comes, the passerby will be looking for shelter in the very house the builder is constructing. You must shift your identity from performer to builder. When you are a builder, criticism is just data. If the criticism is accurate, you use it to improve the structure. If the criticism is false, you ignore it as noise. There is no emotional charge, only utility. Ask yourself right now, are you trying to look successful, or are you trying to be effective? Are you trying to win the argument, or are you trying to win the life? You cannot have both. The energy required to maintain the image of perfection is the exact same energy required to actually achieve perfection. You must choose where to spend it. There is a great cost to maintaining an ego. It is the most expensive luxury in the world. It costs you relationships because you cannot admit when you are wrong. It costs you money because you refuse to learn from those who know more than you. It costs you growth because you surround yourself with sycophants who tell you what you want to hear rather than what you need to hear. And most devastatingly, it costs you your peace. The ego is a constant noise generator. It replays old arguments. It rehearses future fights. It is a paranoid dictator living in the fortress of your skull. To overthrow this dictator, you must starve him. How do you starve the ego? You starve him by refusing to react. Every time you feel the urge to defend yourself, you choose silence. Every time you feel the need to correct someone on a trivial matter, you let them be wrong. Every time you want to boast about your achievements, you keep your mouth shut and let the results speak in due time. This practice is painful at first. It feels like a death. And it is a death, it is the death of the false self. But as that false self dies, the true self, the self that is connected to infinite intelligence, begins to breathe. Let us go deeper into the metaphysics of this conflict. Napoleon Hill spoke often of the vibrational nature of thought. Emotions are frequencies. The frequency of offense, of defensiveness, of wounded pride. This is a low, dense vibration. It is the frequency of the victim. The frequency of purpose, of vision, of creation. This is a high, rapid vibration. It is the frequency of the victor. You cannot occupy two frequencies at the same time. When you stoop down to argue with a fool, you must lower your vibration to match his. You cannot fight a man in the mud without getting into the mud yourself. And when you are in the mud, you are no longer soaring towards your vision. The drifter is constantly descending into the mud to fight petty battles. The master stays at altitude. He understands that the eagle does not fight the snake on the ground. The eagle picks the snake up into the air, into the eagle's domain, where the snake has no power. Your domain is your purpose. Keep your altitude. Do not let the gravity of other people's insecurity pull you down. When you are flying high enough, the noise of the earth cannot reach you. This is what it means to be above it all. It is not arrogance, it is aerodynamics. But what of justice? You might ask. If I do not defend myself, am I not allowing injustice to stand? Am I not being a doormat? This is the fear of the ego talking. There is a vast difference between being a doormat and being a mountain. A doormat is walked on because it lies flat and offers no resistance. A mountain is beaten by the wind and the rain, but it does not move, and eventually the storm breaks against the mountain. Silence is not submission. Silence is a display of strength so immense that it does not need to advertise itself. When you refuse to engage in a petty conflict, you are not losing. You are declaring that the conflict is beneath your station. You are declaring that your time is too valuable to be traded for an argument. This is the ultimate power move. It leaves the aggressor with nowhere to land his attack. He punches the air and looks foolish. You continue your work and look formidable. History remembers the builders, not the critics. No statue has ever been erected to honor a critic. No monument has ever been built to honor a man who won a comment section argument. Monuments are built for those who ignored the noise and did the work. We must also address the concept of anger transmutation. There will be times when the insult penetrates, when the betrayal is real, when the injustice is severe. In these moments, you will feel anger. This is natural, but the master does not vent this anger, he transmutes it. Napoleon Hill taught the principle of sex transmutation, redirecting biological drive into creative effort. The same applies to anger. Anger is energy, it is high-octane fuel. Most people burn this fuel by shouting, breaking things, or plotting revenge. This is waste. The master takes this boiling energy and pours it into his engine. He works harder, he focuses deeper, he becomes more disciplined. He uses the doubt of others as the bricks for his foundation. There is a saying, success is the best revenge. But I tell you, success is not revenge at all. By the time you become successful, you will no longer care about revenge. The success itself will have cleansed you of the need for it. But in the beginning, use the anger. Let it drive you. Let the I'll show them turn into I'll master me. This is the alchemy of self-mastery, turning the lead of rejection into the gold of achievement. Practical application is essential here. You cannot just understand this intellectually, you must live it. How do you practice the death of the ego? You start with the small things. When you are in traffic and someone cuts you off, notice the ego rising up to scream. Catch it. Smile. Say, "Go ahead, my friend." Feel the resistance in your chest. That resistance is the ego dying. When your spouse corrects you or criticizes you, suppress the urge to counterattack with a list of their faults. Instead, listen. Say, "You might be right. I will think about that." Watch the shock on their face. You have changed the script. You have disarmed the conflict. When you post something online and someone mocks it, do not delete the comment and do not reply. Leave it there. Let it stand as a monument to their boredom and your focus. Every time you choose purpose over pride, you are depositing power into your bank account. You are building the cosmic habit force of resilience. Furthermore, you must clarify your definite major purpose to such a degree that it becomes realer to you than the opinions of others. Most people are easily offended because their purpose is vague. They kind of want to be rich. They kind of want to be happy. Kind of is not enough armor. Your purpose must be written down. It must be memorized. It must be visualized. You must see it so clearly that when you close your eyes, you are already living in it. When your internal reality is solid, external reality loses its grip on you. A man who knows he is a king does not get upset when a beggar calls him a peasant. He knows the truth. Do you know your truth? If you are easily triggered, it is a sign that you have not yet fully defined or accepted your own purpose. You are still looking for the world to tell you who you are. Stop asking the world. Tell the world. And tell the world not with your words, but with your relentless, quiet, consistent action. The ultimate freedom you are seeking, the freedom from anxiety, the freedom from fear, the freedom from the roller coaster of emotions, is found on the other side of your ego. It is found in the state of detachment. Detachment does not mean you man. It means nothing owns you. It means you can have the applause, but you do not need it to breathe. It means you can have the money, but you do not need it to feel worthy. It means you can act, create, and build with a joyful heart, regardless of whether the world claps or throws stones. This is the state of the masters. This is the mental frequency where genius lives. When you are no longer worried about protecting your small self, you can finally access your higher self. You can tap into the infinite intelligence that Hill wrote about. This intelligence cannot enter a mind that is cramped with petty grievances. It needs space. It needs silence. It needs a vessel that is clean of the grime of resentment. So, here is your challenge for this chapter of your life. I want you to conduct a funeral. A funeral for the person you used to be, the person who needed to be right, the person who needed to be liked, the person who crumbled under pressure. Bury that version of yourself. Stand over the grave and say goodbye. And then walk away and do not look back. Step into the shoes of the builder. From this day forward, you do not react, you create. You do not defend, you build. You do not argue, you execute. Your definite major purpose is your commander, and your ego is no longer welcome in the war room. This is the hard path. It is the lonely path. But it is the only path that leads to the mountaintop. And I promise you, the view from up there is worth every bit of the struggle. You will look down at the noise, the drama, and the chaos, and you will smile, because you will realize that none of it was ever about you. It was just the resistance trying to verify if you were truly ready to be a master. And by your silence, by your work, and by your unshakable purpose, you have given your answer. You are ready. We now enter the sanctuary of the self. We have discussed the need to stop reacting, the need to conserve energy, and the need to conquer the ego. But now we must answer the most practical question of all. Where is the work actually done? If the battle against the world is fought in the marketplace, where is the weapon forged? The answer is solitude. And the hammer used to forge that weapon is the principle of autosuggestion. We live in a world that is terrified of silence. Blaise Pascal, the great philosopher, once noted that all of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Look around you. Look at the 98%. They are running from silence as if it were a predator. They wake up and immediately turn on the television. They get into the car and immediately turn on the radio. They walk down the street and plug their ears with headphones. They stand in an elevator for 10 seconds and pull out their phones to scroll. Why? What are they running from? They are running from themselves. They are terrified that if the noise stops, they will hear the whisper of their own conscience telling them that they are drifting, that they are wasting their potential, and that they are burying their dreams. Silence is the mirror of the soul, and for the drifter, that mirror is too painful to look into. But for you, the aspiring master, silence is not an enemy. Silence is a laboratory. It is the only place where you can access the infinite intelligence that Napoleon Hill spoke of. It is the only place where you can reprogram the software of your mind. You must learn to transmute solitude from a state of loneliness into a state of power. Let us distinguish clearly between loneliness and solitude. These two words are often used interchangeably, but they are as different as night and day. Loneliness is the pain of being alone. Solitude is the glory of being alone. Loneliness is a poverty of the self. It creates a feeling of lack, a desperate need for others to fill the void. Solitude is the richness of the self. It is the realization that you are whole, that you contain a universe within you, and that you are never less alone than when you are in communion with your own mission. The master craves solitude the way a starving man craves bread, because he knows that in the crowd he loses his center, but in solitude he finds his source. You cannot build a definite major purpose in a crowd. You cannot hear the guidance of the subconscious mind in a stadium. Great ideas are like photographs. They are developed in the dark. If you expose them to the harsh light of public opinion too soon, they fade. You need the dark room. You need the quiet. You need the discipline to shut the door on the world and open the door to your own mind. Now, we must discuss the tool we use within this solitude. Auto-suggestion. This is perhaps the most misunderstood concept in the entire philosophy of success. People think autosuggestion is merely standing in front of a mirror and chanting, "I am rich" or "I am happy" like a parrot. This is useless. It is empty noise. Napoleon Hill was very specific. Autosuggestion is the agency of control through which an individual may voluntarily feed his subconscious mind on thoughts of a creative nature. The key word here is subconscious. You see, your mind has two captains. There is the conscious mind, the pilot, who thinks, analyzes, and decides. Then there is the subconscious mind, the engine room which feels, remembers, and executes. The conscious mind is the gatekeeper, but the subconscious mind is the power plant. The subconscious mind runs your heartbeat, your digestion, and your habits. It also dictates your vibration and what you attract into your life. The problem is that for most people, the gatekeeper is asleep. The conscious mind is distracted by the noise of the world, leaving the door to the engine room wide open. Every fear, every negative news story, every doubt from a friend walks right in and throws coal into the furnace. The subconscious mind accepts these negatives as commands and begins to manifest them as reality. Autosuggestion is the act of waking up the gatekeeper, locking the door, and deliberately choosing what fuel goes into the engine. But here is the secret that the 98% miss. The subconscious mind does not speak the language of logic, it speaks the language of emotion. You cannot program your mind with cold intellectual words. You can say, "I am confident" 1,000 times, but if you feel fear while you say it, the subconscious mind will reject the words and accept the fear. It recognizes the vibration, not the vocabulary. This is why Hill emphasized the mixing of emotion with thought. To transmute solitude into power, you must not just think about your definite major purpose. You must feel it. You must generate the emotional state of having already achieved it. In the privacy of your solitude, you must close your eyes and visualize your success so vividly that your heart races, your palms sweat, and your tears flow. You must feel the gratitude of victory before the victory has arrived. This emotionalized thought is the only thing that can penetrate the shell of the subconscious. Once that seed is planted with emotion, the subconscious takes over. It begins to work day and night, connecting you with the people, the circumstances, and the ideas necessary to bring that seed to harvest. This is not magic. It is mechanics. It is the psychological law of cause and effect. This brings us to the practical application, the morning hour of power. If you want to join the top 2%, you must win the morning. The state of your mind in the first hour of the day dictates the trajectory of the next 15 hours. Most people lose the battle before they even get out of bed. They reach for their phone and immediately inject the chaos of the world into their brain. They look at emails, social media, and news. They are letting the world dictate their thoughts before they have even had a single original thought of their own. This is the habit of a slave. The master protects the morning with his life. You must establish a protocol, a sacred ritual that you execute in solitude before the world wakes up. This is the time when your brain waves are in the alpha or theta state, a state of relaxed awareness where the bridge to the subconscious is most accessible. This is the golden hour for programming. Your morning hour of power should follow a precise structure. First, silence. Do not turn on music. Do not check devices. Sit in the quiet. Let the sediment of your mind settle. In this silence, you acknowledge your existence and your sovereignty. Second, the reading of the definite major purpose. You must have your goal written down, clear, specific, and time-bound. Read it aloud. Why aloud? Because the sound of your own voice is a powerful command to your psyche. But do not just read it, preach it to yourself. Put passion into it. As you read, see yourself in possession of the goal. If your goal is wealth, feel the money in your hands. If your goal is impact, see the faces of the people you have helped. Third, the practice of gratitude. This is not a soft, sentimental exercise. It is a tuning of your frequency. Fear and gratitude cannot coexist in the same mind at the same time. By forcing your mind to focus on what is working, you tune your radio to the station of abundance. You signal to the infinite intelligence that you are ready for more. And fourth, visualization of the day. Before you step into the arena, play the movie of your day in your mind. See yourself handling the difficult meeting with calm. See yourself doing the deep work with focus. Pre-live the day so that when you actually live it, it feels like a memory. This is how you stay in control. You have already walked the path in your mind, so the physical walk is effortless. We must also touch upon the concept of sex transmutation as it relates to solitude, a concept Hill dedicated an entire chapter to. This is often misunderstood as merely sexual abstinence, but it is far deeper. It is about the conservation and redirection of creative energy. The drive to create life is the most powerful force in nature. When you are in solitude, you may feel restless. You may feel a surge of energy, a desire for stimulation, a need to do something. The drifter dissipates this energy through cheap dopamine entertainment, vice, meaningless socializing. The master captures this energy. He recognizes it as raw creative fuel. He uses auto-suggestion to redirect this drive into his definite major purpose. Instead of seeking a temporary release, he pours that intensity into his business, his art, his mission. Solitude is the vessel in which this transmutation occurs. It is the refinery. You take the crude oil of your biological impulses and refine it into the high-octane gasoline of genius. This is why so many great artists and leaders had periods of immense isolation. They were not just hiding, they were cooking. They were holding their energy under pressure until it turned into diamonds. Let us consider the invisible counselors. Napoleon Hill famously wrote about his imaginary council meetings with men like Ford, Carnegie, Lincoln, and Emerson. He would sit in the silence of the night, close his eyes, and imagine he was sitting at a table with these great men. He would ask them for advice. He would imagine how Lincoln would handle a problem, or how Edison would approach a failure. Now, was this real? Were there ghosts actually there? It does not matter. By using his imagination in solitude, Hill was tapping into the collective consciousness, or what he called the great storehouse of infinite intelligence. He was bypassing his own limited experience and accessing a higher wisdom. You can do this too, in your solitude. Who are your counselors? Who are you consulting? If you are constantly consulting your fearful friends or the pessimistic news anchors, you will get their results. But in the sanctuary of your mind, you can consult anyone. You can ask Marcus Aurelius for patience. You can ask Steve Jobs for innovation. You can ask your future self for direction. But you can only hear their answers if you are quiet enough. Solitude clears the line. It removes the static so the call can go through. There is a neurological reason why this works. We are rewriting the neural pathways of the brain. The brain is plastic. It changes based on what you feed it. If you feed it worry, it builds highways of anxiety, making it easier and easier to panic. If you feed it purpose and confidence through auto-suggestion, it builds highways of courage. Eventually, the thought "I am unstoppable" becomes a physical groove in your brain. It becomes your default setting. You no longer have to try to be confident. You simply are confident because that is the structure of your mind. But this construction project takes repetition. It takes consistency. You cannot go to the gym once and expect to be an athlete. You cannot do auto-suggestion once and expect to be a master. It is a daily practice. It is the mental shower you take every morning to wash off the dust of the drifter. You will face resistance. When you first sit in solitude, your demons will come to visit. The ghost of fear will whisper that you are wasting time. The ghost of doubt will remind you of your past failures. The ghost of mediocrity will tell you to just turn on the TV and relax. This is the test. This is the barrier that keeps the 98% out. You must hold your ground. You must look these ghosts in the eye and replace them with your auto-suggestion. When the voice says you are not good enough, you must override it with "I am more than capable." You must fight the mental battle in the quiet so you don't have to fight it in the world. This is why I call this chapter "Transmuting Solitude into Power." You are not just sitting there, you are fighting for your soul. You are weeding the garden. If you leave a garden alone, weeds grow automatically. You don't have to plant weeds, they just appear. Negativity is the weed. It is the default state of the drifting mind. Positivity, purpose, and faith. These are the flowers. They require planting, watering, and protection. Solitude is your gardening time. If you skip it, the weeds will take over, and your life will become a tangled mess of fear and confusion. Imagine the freedom of owning your own mind. Imagine walking into a high-pressure situation and feeling a calm assurance that no one can shake. Imagine having a vision so clear that obstacles look like stepping stones. This is the payoff of the work. This is what you buy with the currency of solitude. The world sees the result, the wealth, the accolades, the legacy, but they do not see the cause. They do not see the early mornings. They do not see the journals filled with affirmations. They do not see the moments where you chose silence over distraction. They call it luck. You know it is law. You know that you built this reality brick by brick in the secret chamber of your own consciousness. So, here is your instruction for this phase of your mastery. You must carve out your sanctuary. It does not have to be a mountaintop. It can be a corner of your bedroom, but it must be yours, and you must defend it. Tell your family, tell the world. From 6:00 a.m. to 7:00 a.m., I do not exist for you. I exist only for my purpose. Turn off the phone. Leave it in another room. Enter your sanctuary with reverence. Bring your journal. Bring your written definite purpose, and begin the work. Speak to your soul. Command your subconscious. Visualize your destiny with such intensity that you practically hallucinate your success. Do not worry if you feel foolish at first. All great things seem foolish to the ordinary mind. Noah looked foolish, building an ark in the desert until the rain started. You are building your ark. You are building the vessel that will carry you through the storms of life. Let the drifters laugh. Let them sleep in. Let them scroll. You have work to do. Remember, the goal of auto-suggestion is to reach a point of automaticity. At first, you are consciously driving the thought. It requires effort. But eventually, the thought begins to drive you. You wake up and the first thought is one of power, not fear. You face a problem, and the first instinct is solution, not panic. When this happens, you know the programming has taken hold. You have successfully installed the operating system of the master. But until that day comes, and even after it comes, you must return to the well of solitude. You must drink from the waters of stillness, for it is in the silence that we remember who we are. It is in the silence that we touch the divine. And it is in the silence that the drifter dies, and the master is born. Do not fear being alone. Fear being in a crowd and losing yourself. Embrace the void, fill it with your faith, and watch as the world rearranges itself to match the picture you have painted in your mind. This is the power of the I Am. This is the power of you. We have arrived at the final gate. We have learned to think accurately, to husband our energy, to silence the ego, and to program the subconscious in solitude. You now possess the blueprint of the master. You have the map, the compass, and the fuel. But there is one final adversary standing between you and the realization of your definite major purpose. It is the most cunning adversary of all, because it does not fight with swords or logic. It fights with shadows. It is the ghost of fear. You can have the greatest plan in the world, the highest IQ, and the most disciplined morning routine, but if you cannot cross the bridge of action, you remain a dreamer. You remain in the 98%. The graveyard of potential is not filled with people who lacked talent. It is filled with people who were waiting to feel ready. They were waiting for the fear to subside. They were waiting for a guarantee of safety. But I am here to tell you that the guarantee never comes, and the fear never leaves, as long as you are standing still. The only cure for fear is the law of motion. Napoleon Hill identified the 6 ghosts of fear that haunt the human mind: the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. While these ghosts take different forms, they all have one primary objective: paralysis. Fear is the weapon of the status quo. Its job is to keep you in your place, to keep you safe, small, and silent. It whispers to you that it is better to stay in the harbor than to risk the open sea. It tells you that if you try, you might fail. And if you fail, you will be ridiculed. And because the human brain is wired for survival, not success, we listen, we freeze, we analyze, we procrastinate. We call it research or preparation, but let us call it by its true name. It is cowardice. It is the refusal to step into the unknown. The drifter spends his entire life preparing to live, but never actually living. He is like a man sitting in a high-performance car, revving the engine, checking the mirrors, adjusting the seat, but never taking his foot off the brake. He makes a lot of noise, but he goes nowhere. To outwit this ghost, you must understand the relationship between fear and time. Fear thrives in the gap between the idea and the execution. When you have an impulse to act, to make the call, to write the page, to approach the person, there is a moment of pure potential. But if you hesitate, even for a second, fear rushes in to fill the vacuum. The longer you wait, the louder the ghost screams. The longer you stare at the mountain, the higher it seems to grow. If you wait a day, the fear doubles. If you wait a year, the fear calcifies into a permanent mental block. This is why the master obeys the law of immediate action. When the intuition strikes, he moves. He does not ask for permission. He does not wait for the perfect feeling. He acts before the fear has time to put its boots on. This is the secret of the high achiever. It is not that they are fearless. It is that they are faster than their fear. They outrun it. They know that action is the only thing that shrinks the ghost back down to its proper size. Let us analyze the metaphysics of hypnotic rhythm. This is a concept Hill described in his later works, specifically regarding how nature makes habits permanent. Imagine a whirlpool in a river. If you drift into the edge of the whirlpool, the current is gentle. You can easily swim out. But if you stop swimming, if you let yourself drift, the rhythm pulls you deeper. The circles get tighter. The speed increases. Eventually, you are pulled into the center, and no amount of struggle can save you. This is hypnotic rhythm. It applies to inaction just as much as action. When you give in to fear today, it becomes easier to give in to fear tomorrow. Nature says, this person wishes to be paralyzed. Let us make paralysis his permanent state. You become frozen in a block of ice of your own making. But the reverse is also true. This is the good news. When you act despite the fear, you create a momentum of courage. Nature says, this person wishes to move. Let us help him move. Suddenly, resources appear. Confidence grows. The ice shatters. This is why the hardest part of a space rocket's journey is the first few seconds. It takes 80% of the fuel just to break the hold of gravity. But once it is in motion, once it breaks the atmosphere, it can travel millions of miles with very little effort. You are that rocket. You are sitting on the launch pad. The gravity of fear is pulling you down. You must burn the fuel. You must push through the resistance of those first few seconds. If you can do that, the hypnotic rhythm will switch sides and begin to carry you toward the stars. We must address the specific fear that kills more dreams than any other: the fear of criticism. We are social animals. For thousands of years, being rejected by the tribe meant death. If you were cast out into the wilderness, you died. So, we evolved a deep, biological terror of being judged. But we are no longer living in caves. A mean comment on the internet will not kill you. A rejection letter will not starve you. Yet, we react as if it will. The ego, which we discussed earlier, screams, "What will they think?" The master answers, "It does not matter what they think. It matters what I build." You must understand that criticism is the tax you pay for greatness. There is no such thing as a tax-free success. If you are doing nothing, saying nothing, and being nothing, you will be safe from criticism. But you will also be irrelevant. The moment you stand up, the moment you speak your truth, the moment you build something of value, you will attract attention, and some of that attention will be negative. Accept it. Expect it. Do not let the fear of a few barking dogs keep you from your destiny. Remember, people who are building their own lives are too busy to tear down yours. The critics are almost always people who are dissatisfied with their own existence. They are projecting their own fear of failure onto you. When you see it this way, you stop fearing them and start pitying them. You realize that your motion is a mirror that reminds them of their stagnation. That is why they attack. Keep moving. Your success is the best rebuttal. Let us delve into the philosophy of the first step. The ghost of fear uses the tool of overwhelm. It shows you the entire journey. It shows you the thousands of miles, the millions of dollars, the years of work. It shows you the summit of Mount Everest from the bottom. And it says, you can never climb that. And if you look at the whole mountain, the ghost is right. It is too big. The master outwits this by using the law of relativity. He refuses to look at the summit. He looks only at his boots. He asks, can I take one step? The answer is always yes. Anyone can take one step. Fear cannot argue with one step. It is too small to trigger the alarm system. So you take the step, and then another, and then another. You trick the brain. You bypass the amygdala. You move under the radar of your own resistance. Writing a book is terrifying. Writing one sentence is easy. Building a business is overwhelming. Making one phone call is manageable. You must break the paralysis by shrinking the task until it is so small that it would be ridiculous not to do it. Motion creates emotion. You do not feel your way into acting. You act your way into feeling. If you feel depressed, move your body. If you feel anxious, take a walk. If you feel stuck, clean your desk. The simple act of physical movement changes your physiology, which changes your psychology. You are not a brain in a jar. You are a physical being. Use your body to lead your mind out of the trap. There is a profound truth that you must embrace. The only failure is the failure to participate. Napoleon Hill taught us that every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent benefit. This means that even if you try and fail, you have gained something. You have gained experience. You have gained data. You have gained resilience. The ghost of fear tells you that failure is the end. The master knows that failure is just the tuition fee for the University of Success. You must be willing to look foolish. You must be willing to stumble. The baby does not walk on the first try. It falls, it cries, it gets up. It does not say, maybe walking isn't for me. It keeps moving because the desire to walk is greater than the fear of falling. You must reclaim that primal persistence. You must fall in love with the process of trying. When you detach your self-worth from the outcome, fear loses its grip. If you succeed, great. If you fail, great, you learned. Either way, you are moving. The only way to lose is to stop. The drifter stops at the first sign of defeat. The master treats defeat as a signal to change plans, not a signal to give up. He pivots, he adjusts, but he never ever stops the motion. Consider the burn the bridges concept. In ancient times, a general would land his army on enemy shores and order the ships to be burned. He left his men with only two choices: win or die. There was no option to retreat. Fear thrives on options. Fear loves a plan B. As long as you have a safety net, as long as you have a way to retreat back to your comfort zone, you will not fight with everything you have. The ghost of fear whispers, you can always go back. You must silence that whisper by cutting off the retreat. You must commit so fully to your definite major purpose that going back is impossible. When your subconscious mind realizes that there is no escape, it unlocks reserves of energy and creativity you never knew you had. It enters survival mode, but in a positive way. It fights for your future because it has no other choice. Ask yourself, where am I keeping a back door open? Where am I hedging my bets? Close the door. Burn the bridge. Tell the universe, I am doing this, or I am dying trying. This level of resolve terrifies the ghost of fear. It flees from such conviction. We must also discuss the illusion of the perfect moment. The drifter is always waiting for the stars to align. He is waiting for the economy to improve, for the kids to grow up, for his confidence to rise. He says, I will start when, but when never comes. The perfect moment is a myth created by fear to keep you sedentary. The conditions will never be perfect. There will always be a reason to wait. The master realizes that the only time is now. Now is the only reality. The past is a memory. The future is a hallucination. Power exists only in the present moment. If you cannot take action now, what makes you think you will take action tomorrow? Tomorrow is just another. Now that hasn't happened yet. You must develop an intolerance for delay. You must become a person of violent execution. I do not mean physical violence, I mean violence against procrastination. When you decide to do something, execute it with speed and ferocity. Do not let the idea sit. Do not let it rot. Ideas are like fruit. They have an expiration date. If you do not act on them, they spoil, and they poison your mind with regret. The pain of regret is far heavier than the pain of discipline. The ghost of fear warns you about the pain of trying, but it hides the truth about the pain of not trying. That is the pain that haunts you on your deathbed, the what-ifs. Outwit the ghost by choosing the pain of discipline today. Let us bring this down to the biological level. Fear is high arousal. Excitement is also high arousal. Physically, the body cannot tell the difference between being terrified and being excited. It is the mind that labels the sensation. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, the shallow breathing. The drifter labels this fear and retreats. The master labels this adrenaline and advances. He tells himself, my body is preparing me for battle. This energy is here to help me. He transmutes the fear into fuel. He surfs the wave of adrenaline instead of drowning in it. Next time you feel that knot in your stomach before a big event, do not wish it away. Welcome it. Say, thank you for the energy. Reframe the narrative. You are not scared. You are ready. You are not anxious. You are alert. This simple shift in language can change your entire performance. You are taking the raw energy of the ghost and using it to power your machine. You must also surround yourself with the motion of others. This goes back to the mastermind principle. If you are surrounded by stationary people, by drifters, their lack of motion will infect you. You will feel that standing still is normal. To outwit fear, you must place yourself in the slipstream of people who are moving fast. Find a circle of people who are taking risks, who are building empires, who are facing their fears daily. Their velocity will pull you forward. It is hard to stand still on a moving train. If you cannot find these people in your physical life, find them in books, in podcasts, in history. Surround your mind with the vibration of action. When you see that others have faced the same ghosts and won, you realize that the ghost is not invincible. You realize that courage is contagious. Catch it. Finally, you must make a contract with yourself regarding the worst-case scenario. Fear screams that if you fail, your life is over. The master uses accurate thinking to dismantle this lie. He asks, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen? He writes it down. If I start this business and fail, I will lose my savings. I will have to get a job. I will be embarrassed. Okay. Is that death? No. Is it permanent? No. Can you recover? Yes. Seneca, the Stoic, practiced poverty once a month to prove to himself that he could survive it. When you look the worst-case scenario in the face and realize it is survivable, the ghost loses its power. You realize that the monster in the closet is just a pile of clothes. You turn on the lights of logic, and the shadows disappear. You are capable of handling much more than you give yourself credit for. You have survived 100% of your bad days so far. You are resilient. Trust in your ability to figure it out. Trust in your ability to land on your feet. So, here is your marching order. The time for thinking is over. The time for planning is done. The time for hesitation has passed. You are standing on the edge of your potential. The ghost of fear is whispering in your ear, telling you to step back, telling you it's safe here, telling you to wait for tomorrow. Do not listen. Take the step, not a mental step, a physical step. Make the call. Send the email. Buy the domain. Sign the contract. Speak the word. Do it with your hands shaking. Do it with your voice trembling. But do it. Because on the other side of that action is the version of you that you have been dreaming about. On the other side of that action is freedom. The ghost cannot cross the bridge of motion. It can only stand on the shore and watch you sail away. Leave the ghost behind. Leave the 98% behind. Set your sail. Engage your will and move. The universe responds to speed. The universe favors the bold. Be bold. Be swift. Be the master. We stand now at the summit of our journey. We have traversed the valleys of drifting, climbed the peaks of accurate thinking, navigated the deserts of energy management, and crossed the bridges of fear. You now possess the keys to the kingdom of self-mastery. But there remains one final law, one great binding force that holds all the other principles together. Without this law, everything we have discussed is merely a temporary burst of inspiration. With this law, your success becomes inevitable. It becomes as certain as the rising of the sun and the rotation of the earth. I am speaking of the law of cosmic habit force. Napoleon Hill considered this the capstone of his philosophy, the natural law that takes your thoughts and actions and makes them permanent. You must understand that nature hates chaos. Nature seeks order, and the way nature establishes order is through habit. Every living thing is subject to this law. The oak tree grows according to the habit of its species. The stars move in their orbits according to the habit of gravity. And you, my friend, are building your destiny according to the habits of your mind. The tragedy of the 98% is not that they never have a good thought. It is not that they never try. It is that they never sustain. They start a diet on Monday and quit on Wednesday. They read a book on leadership and feel inspired for an hour, but by the afternoon they are back to gossiping. They are dabblers. They are tourists in the land of self-mastery. Cosmic habit force does not respect tourists. It respects only those who stay. This law works like a cosmic glue. When you think a thought once, it is a thread. When you think it twice, it is a string. When you think it 1,000 times, coupled with emotion and action, it becomes a cable that no force on earth can break. This is a double-edged sword. If you drift, if you allow fear to dominate, if you are lazy with your mind, cosmic habit force will take those negative patterns and bind them to you. It will make failure your permanent reality. This is why the poor get poorer and the drifters drift further. Nature is simply automating their choice. But here is the glorious truth. If you choose self-mastery, if you choose the sacred pause, if you choose the definite major purpose, and if you persist in these choices, the same law will step in and make success your permanent reality. It will become harder for you to fail than to succeed. This brings us to the ultimate metaphor of our time together. The shift from the thermometer to the thermostat. This is the final graduation. The 98% are thermometers. A thermometer is a passive instrument. It has no will of its own. It has no power to change anything. Its only function is to reflect the environment around it. If the room is hot, the mercury rises. If the room is cold, the mercury falls. It is a slave to the atmosphere. This is how most people live. They walk into a room where people are angry, and they become angry. They watch the news and see chaos, so they feel internal chaos. They receive a rejection, so they feel rejected. They are constantly fluctuating, up and down, driven by the winds of circumstance. They have handed the remote control of their soul to the world. They say things like, "He made me mad," or "The weather ruined my day." Do you hear the language of the thermometer? It is the language of the victim. It is the admission that the external world is the master and the internal world is the servant. But you are here because you are ready to become a thermostat. A thermostat does not care what the temperature is outside. It has a setting. It has a standard. If the thermostat is set to 70 degrees and the room drops to 60, the thermostat does not complain. It does not panic. It does not drop to 60 to match the room. No. It kicks on the furnace. It activates its internal power. It releases heat until the external environment rises to match the internal standard. This is the definition of a master. You do not reflect reality, you create reality. When a thermostat leader walks into a chaotic meeting, they do not join the chaos. They bring the calm. They radiate a frequency of order so strong that the rest of the room calms down to match them. When a thermostat entrepreneur faces a recession, they do not participate in the panic. They set their internal dial to innovation and opportunity, and they work until their reality aligns with their vision. They force the world to adjust to them. This transition from thermometer to thermostat is not a one-time event. It is a war of attrition. At first, the environment will fight you. The room is cold, and you are trying to be hot. The world is negative, and you are trying to be positive. You will feel the pressure to conform. You will feel the pull of the 98% trying to drag you back to their temperature. They will say, be realistic. They will say, don't be so intense. They will say, why can't you just complain like the rest of us? This is the test of cosmic habit force. Nature is asking, are you serious? If you hold your setting, if you refuse to lower your standards, eventually the environment breaks. Eventually, the people around you either rise to your level or they leave the room. Eventually, the circumstances shift to accommodate your persistence. This is the moment of crystallization. This is when the struggle stops and the flow begins. You have proven to the universe that you are not a reflection, you are a projector. Let us discuss the mechanics of setting the dial. How do you actually set the thermostat of your life? It begins with your non-negotiables. A drifter has preferences, a master has non-negotiables. You must decide with absolute clarity what standards you will accept in your life. You must set the dial for your health, your wealth, your relationships, and your peace of mind. If you set your dial to excellence, then mediocrity becomes intolerable to you. You will physically feel uncomfortable when you are wasting time. You will feel a dissonance when you are around toxic people. This discomfort is good. It is the furnace kicking on. It is your internal guidance system telling you to get to work to restore the standard. The reason so many people are stuck is that they have never set the dial. They are waiting to see what temperature the world gives them. You must stop waiting. You must walk over to the wall of your life and turn the dial with your own hand. Set it high. Set it to a level that scares you. And then throw away the knob. Make it permanent. Cosmic habit force works through the principle of rhythmic repetition. Just as the ocean tides rise and fall in a rhythm, your habits establish a rhythm in your life. If you have been living in a rhythm of fear for 20 years, you cannot expect to reverse it in 20 minutes. You must respect the momentum of the past, but you must also respect the power of the present. To change the rhythm, you must introduce a new beat. This is where the morning routine we discussed, the solitude, the auto-suggestion, and the accurate thinking come into play. These are the drum beats of your new rhythm. At first, it will sound chaotic. The old rhythm of fear will clash with the new rhythm of faith. You will feel internal conflict. Do not be discouraged. This conflict is the sound of change. Keep beating the drum. Keep repeating the affirmation. Keep taking the action. Slowly, imperceptibly, the old rhythm will fade, and the new rhythm will take over. Once the new rhythm is established by cosmic habit force, it becomes automatic. It becomes easier to be brave than to be scared. It becomes easier to work than to procrastinate. You have installed a new operating system, and nature is now running it for you. We must also address the ripple effect of your mastery. When you become a thermostat, you do not just change yourself, you change everything around you. Your children are watching. They are learning how to react to stress by watching you. If you are a thermometer, panicked and angry, you are teaching them to be victims. If you are a thermostat, calm and solution-oriented, you are teaching them to be leaders. Your employees, your colleagues, your community, they are all looking for a signal. In a world of noise, the person with the strongest signal wins. If your signal is one of unshakable peace and purpose, people will flock to you. They will want to be in your climate. You become a source of stability in an unstable world. This is the responsibility of leadership. It is not about telling people what to do. It is about holding a frequency that allows them to rise. By mastering yourself, you serve the world. You become a living example of what is possible when a human being refuses to drift. Consider the concept of time as an ally. For the drifter, time is an enemy. Every day that passes is another day of lost potential, another day of aging without achieving. They fear time. For the master who understands cosmic habit force, time is an ally. Time is the medium through which the compound interest of their habits pays off. They know that every single day they hold their standard, they are adding a layer of concrete to their foundation. They are patient because they trust the law. They know that you cannot plant a seed today and eat the fruit tomorrow. But they also know that if they water the seed every day, the fruit is inevitable. When you align yourself with natural law, you lose the anxiety of how long will it take. It takes as long as it takes. You are building for eternity. You are building a character that will outlast your physical life. Napoleon Hill often spoke of the other self, the version of you that knows no fear, the version that is connected to infinite intelligence. Cosmic habit force is the bridge to that other self. Every act of discipline brings you one step closer to merging with that higher version of you. There is a warning I must issue here. The law works both ways. If you stop feeding the fire of your purpose, the room will cool down. Entropy is real. The natural tendency of things is to move toward disorder. If a gardener stops weeding, the weeds return. If a master stops practicing, the drift returns. You can never say, "I have arrived." You can never retire from self-mastery. It is a lifetime appointment. The moment you become arrogant, the moment you think you are above the law, is the moment you begin to fall. You must remain humble. You must remain vigilant. You must wake up every morning and reset the thermostat. You must choose to be a master again and again. The price of liberty is eternal vigilance. The price of greatness is eternal discipline. But do not see this as a burden. See it as a privilege. It is a privilege to be awake in a world of sleepers. It is a privilege to be a creator in a world of consumers. It is a privilege to hold the pen and write your own story. As we close this chapter in this series, I want you to look at your hands. Open them. Look at them. These hands have the power to build or to destroy. They have the power to help or to hurt. They have the power to drift or to steer. But the hands are just the servants. Look inward. Look at the mind that commands the hands. That is where the battle is won or lost. You have been given a gift that no other creature on earth possesses, the power to direct your own thoughts. You can choose to focus on the gloom and become a thermometer of despair, or you can choose to focus on the vision and become a thermostat of destiny. The choice is not made once. It is made in every single millisecond of your existence. It is made in the sacred pause. It is made in the silence. It is made in the face of fear. I want you to make a contract with yourself today. Not a wish, but a contract. A binding agreement with your own soul. State to yourself, I refuse to drift. I refuse to be a victim of circumstance. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I set the standard, and I will not lower it for anyone or anything. Feel the power of that declaration. Let it sink into your subconscious. Let cosmic habit force take hold of it. You are no longer part of the 98%. You have crossed the line. You are one of the few. You are the architect of the future. The world is waiting for you. It is waiting for your art, your business, your leadership, your voice. But it needs the real you. Not the reactive, fearful, diluted version of you. It needs the master. It needs the thermostat. Go out there and set the temperature. When the storm comes, be the shelter. When the darkness falls, be the light. When the noise gets loud, be the silence. You have the tools, you have the philosophy, you have the power. Now the only thing left to do is to live it. Do not let this message fade into the background of your memory. Let it haunt you in the best possible way. Let it be the voice that wakes you up a little earlier. Let it be the hand that stops you from sending the angry text. Let it be the force that pushes you to take the risk. You are built for greatness, but greatness is not a gift. It is a demand. It demands everything you have. Give it. Pour yourself out completely. Die empty. Leave nothing on the table. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is who you became in the process of living. Go now. The clock is ticking. The habits are forming. The cement is drying. Make sure you are building a palace, not a prison. Make sure you are writing a tragedy, not a triumph. The pen is yours. The paper is blank. The time is now. Be the master. If this series has awakened something in you, if you feel the shift from thermometer to thermostat beginning to happen, do not let this moment pass. Join us. Subscribe to this channel not just to watch, but to belong to a mastermind alliance of people who are committed to the high path. Share this video with one person, just one, who needs to be reminded of their power. And leave a comment below with 2 words, a declaration to the universe and to yourself. I control. Not I wish, not I hope, but I control. Declare it, own it, live it. Until we meet again, keep your mind on what you want and off what you do not want. You have the philosophy. You have the tools. But philosophy without continuity is dead. To truly install these habits, you must immerse yourself in this thinking daily. I have prepared more deep dives into Napoleon Hill's laws of success right here on this channel. If you are ready to go even deeper, to unlock the hidden chapters of your potential, click on the video appearing on your screen now. Do not let the drift return. Keep the momentum going. Your future self is waiting for you in the next lesson. Click now, and I will see you there.